Captain stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the viewing screen with growing concern. The small scout vessel had been exploring this section of space for 3 months, mapping star systems and searching for signs of intelligent life. Now, finally, they had found something, but wasn't sure if this was a good thing anymore. Lieutenant Park confirmed those readings, said, keeping his voice steady. Park leaned over her navigation console, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. The young officer had been with him for 2 years, and he trusted her skills completely. She looked up, her face pale. Confirmed, Captain. 12 vessels, unknown design. They're holding position near the 4th planet. Energy signatures are massive, much larger than anything we've seen before. Dr. Lee moved closer to examine the data. The xenobiology specialist had joined this mission hoping to make history by being part of humanity's first contact with alien life. He adjusted his glasses and frowned at the numbers scrolling across the screen. "Those power readings don't make sense," muttered. "If these are their normal operating levels, their technology is decades ahead of ours." Felt a knot form in his stomach, but he pushed the feeling aside. Humanity had been searching for other intelligent species for over a century. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. He couldn't let fear guide his decisions. "Ensign, prepare the first contact package," ordered. "Standard peaceful greeting in all languages plus mathematical sequences. Let's introduce ourselves." Nodded from the communications station. The youngest member of the crew, she had practiced this moment 1,000 times in simulations. Her hands shook slightly as she activated the transmission protocols. "Package ready, Captain. Transmitting now on all frequencies." The bridge fell silent as they waited. The message traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying humanity's hopes for a peaceful meeting with another civilization. Seconds turned into minutes. The alien vessels remained motionless, not responding. "Maybe they need time to decode it," suggested, though her voice lacked confidence. Suddenly, every alarm on the horizon's edge screamed at once, gasped, and grabbed the edge of the console to steady himself. Training took over immediately. "Report. All 12 vessels just locked weapons on us," shouted over the alarms. "Captain, they're charging some kind of energy weapon. Power spike is off the charts." "Evasive maneuvers, full reverse thrust," commanded, gripping his chair. "Try to transmit again. Tell them we mean no harm." The horizon's edge lurched as pushed the engines to maximum. The small ship wasn't built for combat, only exploration. Its shields were basic, meant to protect against space debris and radiation, nothing more. "They're not responding to any messages," Captain cried out. "Wait, I'm picking up something. It's not directed at us. They're talking to each other." "Can you translate?" His fingers flew across her console, feeding the alien language through the ship's computer systems. The translation software struggled with the unknown words, but slowly, fragments began to appear on the screen. What read made his blood run cold. "Primitive species detected, following standard protocol, elimination authorized." "They're going to kill us," whispered. 3 of the alien vessels broke formation and began pursuing the horizon's edge. They moved with frightening speed, closing the distance quickly. Pushed the scout ship harder, but everyone on the bridge knew they couldn't outrun ships that advanced. "Captain, we need to jump to quantum space," said urgently. "It's our only chance." Knew she was right, but jumping required time to calculate coordinates. If they got it wrong, they could end up anywhere or worse, torn apart in the quantum barrier. But staying meant certain death. "Do it, calculate the jump for Earth. We need to warn them." While worked frantically on the navigation computer, continued monitoring the alien communications. More and more fragments came through the translation software. Each one was worse than the last. "Captain, you need to hear this," said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're called the They've been destroying species they consider primitive, "Captain, they've wiped out 47 civilizations." The bridge went silent except for the hum of the engines and the beeping of warning alerts. 47 civilizations, 47 entire species gone, and now the new about Earth. "How long until we can jump?" asked, fighting to keep his voice calm. 30 seconds, replied, sweat beading on her forehead. The alien ships fired. Brilliant beams of purple energy lanced through space, missing the horizon's edge by mere meters. The near miss overloaded several systems and sparks erupted from a console near. The doctor jumped back, patting out a small fire on his sleeve. 20 seconds. Another blast struck their rear shield, and the entire ship shook violently. Lights flickered, and the artificial gravity wavered for a moment. Heard the structural integrity warnings blaring. 10 seconds. Hold together, baby. The ships were right behind them now, preparing to fire again. This close they couldn't miss. Watched the countdown on the navigation screen, each second feeling like an eternity. 3, 2, 1. The horizon's edge leaped into quantum space just as another energy beam tore through the area where they had been a microsecond before. The viewing screen showed the swirling chaos of the quantum dimension, and everyone on the bridge let out a breath they didn't know they had been holding. But there was no celebration. They had survived, but they were bringing terrible news home. "Good work, everyone," said quietly. "Compile everything you intercepted from every transmission, every fragment. Analyze all the data we gathered on their ships and weapons. We need to know everything about them." "How long until we reach Earth?" asked. 6 days at quantum speed, answered. Nodded slowly. 6 days to prepare the report that would change everything. 6 days before humanity learned they were no longer alone in the universe. 6 days before Earth discovered that peaceful exploration had just painted a target on there. As the horizon's edge raced through quantum space toward Earth, made a discovery that chilled everyone to the bone. Buried in the communications was a timeline. The aliens were already assembling a fleet. In 6 months, they would arrive at Earth with one purpose: complete extermination of the human species. Stared at the star map display, seeing Earth's location highlighted in blue. His home. 7 billion people who had no idea what was coming. He thought about his daughter, about all the children playing in parks and going to school, completely unaware that their existence had just been deemed unworthy by an alien empire. "Set course for Earth Defense Command Headquarters," said firmly. "Maximum speed. Humanity needs to know. We need to prepare." What didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Earth had been preparing for exactly this moment for over 200 years. The warning they carried would not create panic. Instead, it would awaken something that had been sleeping in the dark, waiting patiently for the day it would be needed. The war fleet was about to open its eyes. The horizon's edge dropped out of quantum space near Earth and immediately requested emergency docking at the orbital command station. Within an hour, he stood in a briefing room facing Admiral, the head of Earth Defense Command. Had expected panic, fear, maybe even disbelief. What he didn't expect was the calm smile on the Admiral's weathered face. 6 months, you say?" asked, reviewing the data on his tablet. "Yes, sir," replied, confused by the Admiral's relaxed demeanor. "They are gathering a massive fleet. Based on their communications, they're bringing enough ships to overwhelm any defense we could mount. Sir, we need to evacuate the outer colonies, fortify Earth's orbital defenses, send out calls for help." Captain interrupted gently, "Take a breath, sit down." Sat, though every instinct screamed at him to keep talking, to make them understand the danger. And sat beside him, equally confused. The Admiral pressed a button on the conference table, and a man in a military uniform entered, followed by a woman in civilian clothes. "This is Commander Minu, our fleet coordinator," said, "and Dr. Nam, our chief military historian. They're going to tell you something that very few people know, something that will sound impossible." activated a holographic display. An image of Earth appeared, showing the planet as it looked nearly 200 years ago. The continents were marked with red zones, areas of destruction and devastation. In 2089, humanity nearly destroyed itself, began. World War III lasted only 18 months, but it almost ended our species. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, entire cities turned to ash. When the war finally ended, only 2 billion people remained alive out of 10 billion. Knew this history. Every schoolchild learned about the Great War and the new peace that followed. But he didn't understand why they were discussing ancient history when an alien fleet was heading toward Earth. The survivors made a decision, continued. They created a pact, a promise that would bind every nation, every government, every human being. The pact had 2 words: never again. The holographic display changed, showing construction facilities in space, on asteroids, hidden in the dark between planets. Thousands of workers building something massive. Earth didn't just promise peace, Minyu said, taking over the briefing. We prepared for war, not with each other but with any threat that might come. We knew that somewhere in the universe there might be others, and we knew that not all of them would be friendly. Leaned forward, his eyes wide. Are you saying you built weapons in secret? Not just weapons, said, standing up. Come with me, it's time you saw the truth. The Admiral led them through corridors and elevators, going deeper into the station. They passed through security checkpoints that had never seen before, each requiring retinal scans and biometric verification. Finally, they entered a vast control room filled with displays and officers working at countless stations. This is Deep Command, explained. This facility has existed for 190 years. Its sole purpose is to manage what we built. Commander, show them. Minyu walked to the central display and entered a long sequence of codes. The main screen filled with a star map of the solar system. At first, didn't see anything unusual. Then Minyu pressed another button, and thousands of red dots appeared across the display. Each dot represents a warship, Minyu said quietly. We have ships hidden in asteroid bases, ships buried in the ice of moons, ships in deep space, powered down and waiting. For 200 years we've been building them, testing them, improving them. Gasped, how many? 8,143, Minyu answered. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, frigates, and support vessels. Every type of ship you can imagine. Some are as small as the horizon's edge. Others are 5 kilometers long. Felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. 8,000 warships, hidden from the world, hidden from humanity itself. Why, asked, why keep it secret? Stepped forward. Because peace is fragile, Lieutenant. If people knew we had this kind of military power, some would want to use it. Old conflicts would reignite. Nations would compete for control. The only way to maintain peace was to keep the fleet sleeping. We watched. We waited. We hoped we would never need them. But you always knew you might, said slowly, understanding dawning. Nodded. Every generation we passed down the responsibility. We trained commanders in secret. We developed new technologies. The public ships, the ones everyone knows about, are real. But they're not our true strength. They're what we show the world while the real fleet sleeps in the dark. Until now, Minyu added. He turned back to the display and pressed another sequence. Across the star map, the red dots began turning green, one by one, then in clusters, then in waves. What's happening? Asked. We're waking them up, said simply. Every ship is receiving activation codes. Crews who trained for this their entire lives are boarding. Reactors that have been dormant for decades are coming online. The wanted to find Earth. Well, they found us. Now they're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity. Over the next hours, and his crew watched in amazement as the hidden fleet awakened. Cameras showed massive hangar doors opening in asteroids that appeared dead and lifeless. Ships that had been covered in ice and rock for years shrugged off their disguises and powered up. In orbital shipyards that didn't exist on any official map, carriers that could hold 100 fighters each ran system checks. The technology, said, studying the specifications Menu provided. Some of this is incredible. Quantum fold drives, plasma cannons, adaptive armor. This is decades ahead of what I thought we had. The civilian sector got new technology when we were sure it was safe, explained. But the military never stopped advancing. Every breakthrough, every innovation, we tested it and improved it. The quantum drive your scout ship uses. That's actually Generation 12. The military fleet has Generation 17. Felt a strange mixture of emotions. Pride that humanity had been so prepared. Anger that such huge secrets had been kept. Relief that Earth wasn't defenseless. And underneath it all, a growing realization of what this meant. You're going to fight them, he said. Not defend, you're going to take the fight to the... Smile was cold. Captain, humanity learned something important 200 years ago. If you wait for the enemy to come to you, you fight on your terms. But if you go to them, you control everything. They think they're hunting us. They're wrong. Menu brought up a new display showing the fleet movement based on the data from the horizon's edge. According to their communications, they're sending advanced scouts ahead of the main fleet. Small groups, maybe 8 or 10 ships each, to gather final intelligence on Earth. Captain said, turning to Face directly. Your ship found them, you brought us the warning. Now I'm giving you a choice. You and your crew can stand down, return to your families, and let others fight this war. No one would blame you. You've done your duty. Knew there was a second option coming. Or, continued, you can take command of a destroyer and a small task force, 12 ships. Your mission would be to find one of these scout groups and destroy it. All but one ship. We let that one escape. You want to send them a message, said. Exactly. They think they're the hunters. Let's show them they're wrong. Let's make them afraid before the real battle even begins. Let's make them wonder what else they don't know about us. Looked at his crew, nodded immediately. Hands were shaking, but her jaw was set with determination. Adjusted his glasses and said, I didn't come out here to run when things got difficult. We're in, Admiral said. Extended his hand. Good. Your new ship is the Iron Will, one of our latest destroyers. She's been waiting in a lunar base for someone worthy to command her. Commander will brief you on her capabilities. You have 48 hours to familiarize yourself with the ship and crew, then you hunt. As they left Deep Command, looked back at the display showing thousands of green dots spreading across the solar system. The sleeping giant was awake. Earth's true strength was revealing itself. And somewhere out in the dark, they were coming, completely unaware of what awaited them. The age of human weakness was over. The galaxy was about to learn a new lesson. Never threaten a species that has already survived its own apocalypse. The Iron Will moved silently through space, its hull painted black to blend with the void. Captain stood on the bridge of his new ship, still getting used to the feeling of commanding something so powerful. The destroyer was 3 times the size of the horizon's edge, with weapons that made his old scout vessel look like a toy. Contacts bearing 270, Lieutenant Park reported from the tactical station. The young officer had been assigned to crew from the secret fleet, trained his whole career for a war that might never come. Now it was here, and seemed eager to prove himself. Confirmed, said from navigation. 8 ships, design matches the ones that attacked us. They're scanning the system, probably looking for signs of human activity. Studied the tactical display. His task force consisted of 12 ships, the Iron Will and 11 other destroyers, all hidden among the asteroids of the 442 system. They had been waiting here for 3 days, knowing that scouts would eventually pass through this area on their way to Earth. Distance, asked. 2 million kilometers and closing, replied. They're moving slow, taking their time with the scans. Ensign looked up from the communications console. Captain, I'm intercepting their transmissions. They sound confident. One of them just said this system is empty except for rocks. Good thought. Overconfidence could be a weapon if used correctly. All ships, this is Iron Will, said into the fleet channel. Hold position. Wait for my signal. Remember the plan. 11 captains confirmed the order. They had practiced this for 2 days, running simulations until everyone knew their role perfectly. Now came the real test. Dr. Lee stood near the science station, studying the ships with intense focus. He had spent every hour since Earth analyzing alien technology, looking for weaknesses. Now he leaned over and whispered too. Captain, I've been monitoring their shield frequencies. There's a pattern. Every 47 seconds, there's a minor fluctuation when the shields reset. It only lasts zero point 0.3 seconds, but during that time, the shields are at 70% strength. Nodded slowly. It wasn't much, but in space combat, small advantages could mean everything. Can we target that fluctuation? The tactical officer's fingers danced across his console. Yes, sir. If we time it perfectly, we can hit them when they're vulnerable. But we need to coordinate all ships. If even one fires too early or too late, they'll adapt their shields. Then we'll make sure everyone hits at exactly the right moment, said. He opened the fleet channel again. All ships, new targeting data incoming. Dr. Lee has found a weakness in their shields. We'll send you the timing sequence. Practice it. We only get one chance at surprise. The ships moved closer, their scans sweeping through the asteroid field. They passed within 1 million kilometers of the hidden human fleet, completely unaware of the danger. They're not even being cautious, observed. They really think they're the most powerful species in space. Let them think it, said quietly, for a few more minutes. When they reached the designated coordinates, took a deep breath. This was it. The first real battle between humans and aliens. Everything depended on the next few minutes. All ships charge weapons, ordered. Target lock on enemy vessels. Fire on my mark. The bridge grew silent. Every eye watched the countdown timer that had synchronized across all 12 human ships. 30 seconds until the shield fluctuation. 20. 10. Mark. 12 destroyers opened fire at once. Magnetic cannons launched projectiles at incredible speeds. Plasma beams cut through space. Missiles with quantum warheads streaked toward their targets. All of it timed to hit during the brief moment when the shields were weak. The first alien ship exploded instantly, its reactor breached by 3 simultaneous impacts. The second ship's shields collapsed under the focused fire, and half of it simply vanished in a ball of superheated plasma. The third survived but lost its main engines, spinning helplessly. The remaining 5 ships reacted quickly, but their shock was obvious from their erratic movements. Their shields came to full power, adapted to block the human weapons. They returned fire, purple energy beams lancing out toward the asteroid field. Evasive pattern Delta, commanded calmly. All ships scatter and regroup. The human destroyers burst from their hiding places, engines flaring. The beams hit empty space or shattered asteroids. The aliens were fast, but the human ships were faster, more agile. They're trying to form a defensive formation, reported. They're grouping together to combine their shields. Don't let them, said. Execute Plan Beta. The human ships split into 3 groups of 4. They moved in coordinated patterns, forcing them to divide their attention. One group would feint an attack from the right, while another struck from the left. The third group launched specialized weapons that had helped design. Firing EMP drones, announced. Small, fast-moving drones shot toward the ships. The aliens targeted them with point defense weapons, destroying most of them. But 3 drones got through, detonating near 2 enemy vessels. Electromagnetic pulses washed over the alien ships, and their shields flickered and died. Now shouted. The human ships concentrated fire on the vulnerable targets. One ship tried to run, its engines pushing to maximum. It didn't make it far. Kinetic harpoons, massive metal spears launched at incredible velocity, punched through its hull. The ship went dark and drifted. Another alien vessel attempted something desperate. It rammed toward the nearest human destroyer, trying to use its superior mass as a weapon. But the human captain saw it coming and rolled the ship, firing thrusters in a maneuver no ship could match. The destroyer spun like a dancer, its weapons tracking the alien ship the entire time. Plasma beams cut into the vessel's engines, and it lost power meters before impact would have occurred. 4 enemy ships destroyed, 2 disabled, reported. His voice was excited, 2 still fighting. The remaining 2 ships fought with desperate fury. They were clearly skilled warriors, adapting their tactics quickly. One of them damaged a human destroyer, scoring a direct hit that knocked out the weapon systems. But the humans kept coming, relentless and coordinated. "Captain, one of them is trying to run," said. "Looks like they're charging their quantum drive." Made a decision. Let them go. Focus all fire on the last one. Sir looked confused. "Those are your orders, Lieutenant." The 11 remaining active human destroyers surrounded the last fighting ship. It fired in all directions, hitting 2 more human vessels but not destroying them. Human shields held. Human armor absorbed the damage, and human weapons kept firing until the alien ship's shields finally failed completely. "Disable it," ordered. "Don't destroy. Target their engines and weapons only." Precise fire crippled the ship. It hung dead in space, powerless but intact. The other alien vessel had jumped to quantum space and escaped. "Damage report," called out. 3 ships with moderate damage, reported. "No casualties, all vessels still operational." Was already working at her console, preparing the message they had planned. "Captain, ready to transmit to the disabled ship." "Do it." The message went out in the language, translated perfectly by Earth's computers. Had worked on it for hours, making sure every word was clear. "You came to find Earth. You wanted to eliminate humanity like you did to 47 other species. You made a mistake. We know what you are. We know what you've done. Now go back to your people. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humans fight back. Tell them we're coming." Paused, then added one more thing. "Send them visual records of the battle. Let them see exactly how we destroyed their ships." The data transmitted to the disabled vessel. Inside that ship, aliens that had terrorized 47 civilizations were now seeing themselves as prey for the first time. They would be rescued eventually by their own forces. They would return home, and they would spread fear. "All ships form up," commanded. "We return to Earth." As the human task force regrouped and prepared for the jump home, studied the debris from the destroyed ships. His scanners picked up interesting data about their technology, their weapons, their weaknesses. "Captain," said thoughtfully, "these ships were advanced but not invincible. We just proved that human tactics and teamwork can overcome superior technology. When the main fleet arrives, we'll have even more data to use against them." Nodded, but his expression was serious. 8 ships gave us this much trouble. They are bringing 3,000. We won a battle today, but the war hasn't even started yet. The Iron Will and its sister ships jumped to quantum space, leaving behind wreckage and one very damaged vessel. In that ship, the surviving aliens sent an emergency message to their fleet command. The message was simple but terrifying for a species that had never known defeat. "Humans are dangerous. Humans are prepared. Humans are not prey. Recommend immediate reevaluation of invasion plan." The warning was received and ignored. The High Command was too proud, too certain of their superiority. They increased the invasion fleet from 3,000 ships to 4,000, believing that overwhelming numbers would crush whatever resistance Earth could offer. They had no idea they were making the exact mistake wanted them to make. The War Council met in the deepest section of Earth's Strategic Command, a facility buried beneath the Pacific Ocean. The room was circular, with a massive holographic display in the center showing the solar system and the approaching threat. Admiral stood at the head of the table, surrounded by the most important military leaders humanity had trained in secret for 2 centuries. Commodore, recently promoted for his success against the Scouts, sat between Commander Minu and a woman he had just met, Fleet Admiral, was the supreme commander of Earth's hidden war fleet, a position that had existed in shadow for generations. She was in her 60s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Let's begin," said, her voice cutting through the quiet conversations. "Commander, show us what we're facing." Minu activated the central display. A red mass appeared at the edge of the solar system, slowly moving inward. Numbers scrolled beside it, making several people in the room shift uncomfortably. "Main fleet," Minu reported. 4,000 warships, including 200 capital-class vessels. They'll reach Earth's orbit in 3 weeks. Their strategy appears simple: overwhelming force. They plan to surround Earth and destroy all orbital defenses, then eliminate surface targets until humanity surrenders or dies. Dr. Lee, invited to the council as an expert, raised his hand. "Admiral, based on my analysis of the ships we fought, I estimate each vessel is individually more powerful than our destroyers. Their capital ships are probably stronger than our dreadnoughts." "Then we're outmatched," someone said from across the table. "In individual ship strength, yes," agreed. "But not in tactics, not in coordination, and not in determination." Nodded approvingly. "Dr. Lee is correct. They have conquered 47 species through brute force. They've never faced an opponent that fought smart instead of fighting hard. That's our advantage." A hologram of a capital ship rotated above the table. Studied it carefully, remembering how the scout vessels had fought. Strong shields, powerful weapons, but predictable tactics. They relied on their technological superiority and never adapted quickly when surprised. "Admiral," said slowly, an idea forming. "What if we don't fight the battle they expect?" "Explain," said. "They are coming here to Earth. They expect us to defend our home. They expect us to put all our forces in a desperate last stand around our planet." Stood and walked to the display. "What if we give them that battle, but it's not our only move?" Admiral smiled. He had worked with before and recognized that look. "You have a plan." 3 simultaneous operations, said, his confidence growing. "We split our fleet into 3 groups. The first group stays here and defends Earth, making it look like our main force. The second group strikes their supply lines. They have come a long way from their home territory. They need supplies, fuel, repair facilities. We destroy those." "And the third group?" asked, leaning forward with interest. "Goes straight to theirs," said. "While they're attacking Earth, we attack them." The room erupted in discussion. Some called it brilliant, others called it insane, waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "They think they're the predators. They've terrorized the galaxy for who knows how long. No species has ever taken the fight back to them. They won't expect it. There will be defended, but not heavily. Most of their military is in that fleet heading our way." Commander, head of special operations, spoke up. "It's risky, very risky, but I like it. We're not just fighting to survive, we're fighting to win, to end this threat permanently." Minu brought up fleet statistics. "We have 8,000 ships. If we split them evenly, that's roughly 2,600 ships per operation. Earth's defense gets 2,000 ships. That should be enough to hold against 4,000 if we use the planet's orbital defenses, the moon bases, and the asteroid fortifications." "The supply line raid gets 3,000 ships," suggested. "Fast attack craft, destroyers, ships that can hit hard and run. We make them bleed resources." "And the assault on there gets 3,000 of our best ships," said, nodding slowly. "Heavy hitters, capital ships, ships that can jump deep into enemy territory and fight their way to the target." Doctor cleared his throat. "Admiral, there's something else we should consider. I've been studying psychology based on their communications. They're extremely hierarchical. They follow orders without question. If we cut off the head, the body might stop functioning." "Their command structure," said, understanding immediately. "Exactly. If we strike there and eliminate their high command, the fleet attacking Earth might lose coordination. They might even retreat." Stood and walked around the table thinking. The entire room watched her, waiting. Finally, she stopped and looked at. "Commodore, you found them. You fought them first. You understand them better than anyone else here. If I approve this three-pronged strategy, who leads each operation?" Took a deep breath. "Admiral should command the Earth defense. He knows every defensive position we have. Commander Minu leads the supply raids because he's the best tactical coordinator we have. And the assault," he paused, "that needs someone willing to take the biggest risk." "You," said simply. "If you'll have me, Admiral." Turned to the rest of the council. "This is my decision. We use the Trident strategy. 3 strikes, 3 targets all at once. The wanted war will give them more war than they can handle." She looked at "Commodore, you'll be promoted to Rear Admiral for this operation. You'll have 3,000 ships under your command, including our dreadnoughts. Your objective is simple. Reach there, destroy their military command, and make them understand that attacking Earth was the worst mistake they ever made." The council voted unanimously to approve the plan. Over the next 2 weeks, the fleet reorganized. Ships moved into position. Crews trained for their specific missions. Earth's civilian population was finally told the truth about the alien threat, and surprisingly, there was little panic. The revelation of the hidden war fleet actually calmed people. Humanity had been ready all along. Stood in the hangar bay of his new flagship, the dreadnought Eternal Defiance. The ship was massive, nearly 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor. Would be his fleet coordinator, would handle tactical operations, would manage communications across 3,000 ships, and would continue analyzing enemy weaknesses. "It's a long way from the horizon's edge," said, standing beside him. "We were explorers," replied, "looking for friends among the stars. Instead, we found enemies. But maybe after this, when they are defeated, we can go back to exploring." "Think we'll win?" asked quietly. Looked at the rows of ships visible through the hangar's massive windows. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, dreadnoughts. Each one crewed by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Each one representing humanity's refusal to give up, to surrender, to accept extinction. "The destroyed 47 civilizations," said, "but those civilizations didn't have 200 years to prepare. They didn't have a species that had already survived its own apocalypse. They didn't have people who promised never again and meant it. Yes, we'll win, because losing isn't an option." 3 days later, the fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. Their sensors immediately detected the 2,000 human ships waiting near Earth. The alien commanders transmitted a simple message: surrender or die. Admiral's response was equally simple: come and try. The fleet began moving toward Earth, confident in their numerical and technological superiority. They didn't notice the 3,000 human ships that had already quantum jumped away from the solar system, heading in opposite directions. They didn't realize that while they were chasing Earth's defense fleet, humanity was chasing them. In the command center of the Eternal Defiance, watched the countdown timer. 12 hours until his fleet would arrive at the 12 hours until Earth's defense fleet would engage the enemy. 12 hours until Commander Minu's raiders would hit the supply lines. "All ships report ready," announced. "Then let's remind the galaxy why you don't threaten humanity," said. "All ships prepare for quantum jump. Destination, Prime. Operation Trident is now active." 3,000 human warships vanished into quantum space, carrying with them the hopes of humanity and the promise of retribution. They had woken the sleeping giant. Now they would learn what that truly meant. The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin, and it would be fought not just around Earth, but across 3 different star systems simultaneously. The age of dominance was ending. The age of humanity was beginning. The battle began in 3 places at once, separated by light years but connected by a single purpose. Around Earth, Admiral watched 4,000 ships approach his defensive line. His 2,000 vessels were arranged in layers, using the moon and asteroid belt as natural fortifications. Weapon platforms hidden in craters came online. Missile batteries buried in asteroids for decades activated. They had numbers, but they were coming to a battlefield Earth had spent 2 centuries preparing. "All ships hold position," ordered calmly. "Let them come to us. Make them fight through every meter of space." They opened fire first, launching massive energy beams that lit up space like lightning. Human shields absorbed the impacts, flickering but holding. Waited until the enemy was exactly where he wanted them, scattered among the asteroids and unable to maintain tight formations. "Now," he said simply. 2,000 human ships opened fire simultaneously, but they weren't aiming at the vessels. They targeted the asteroids themselves, ones that humans had spent years preparing. The rocks exploded, but not randomly. Shaped charges sent fragments flying in calculated directions. Millions of pieces of rock and metal became a deadly cloud that tore through formations. The alien ships had shields designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. They weren't ready for simple rocks moving at incredible speeds. Dozens of ships lost their shields immediately. Hundreds more took damage. And while they were dealing with the debris, human weapons struck with precision. Far across space, Commander Minu led his 3,000 ships in a different kind of battle. His raiders had found the supply lines, long chains of cargo vessels protected by military escorts. The human ships struck like wolves hunting prey, appearing suddenly from quantum space, destroying targets and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. "Target that fuel depot," Minu commanded, pointing at a massive station orbiting a dead planet. "Fighter wings clear the escorts. Heavy cruisers hit the depot itself." Captain Song led her fighter wing through the defensive fire with skill that seemed impossible. The small craft twisted and turned, moving in patterns that confused the targeting computers. Human pilots didn't rely on computer assistance alone. They flew with instinct and creativity that machines couldn't match. Fox 3" called out, launching missiles at an escort ship. The missiles didn't fly straight. They curved and spiraled, programmed with random patterns that made them nearly impossible to intercept. 3 found their target and the escort ship broke apart. While the fighters kept the defenders busy, Minu's heavy ships destroyed the fuel depot. Without fuel, the invasion fleet would eventually run out of power. Without supplies, they would starve. The raiders moved to the next target, then the next, systematically destroying everything they needed to sustain their war. But the most critical battle was happening at Prime, the alien. Rear Admiral stood on the bridge of the Eternal Defiance, watching as his fleet of 3,000 ships dropped out of quantum space directly above the home planet. Alarms immediately screamed on every alien defensive station. Nothing like this had ever happened before. No one attacked the at-home. "Defensive fleet detected," Lieutenant Park reported. 800 ships forming up to intercept us." 800 against 3,000. The humans had the advantage, but knew these would be the best warriors, defending their most important world. This wouldn't be easy. "All ships form attack pattern Omega," commanded. "Capital ships forward, destroyers provide cover, carriers launch all fighters. Our target is the command citadel on the northern continent. Everything else is secondary." Dr. Lee monitored the planetary defenses. "Captain, Admiral, they have orbital defense platforms, thousands of them. If we try to get close to the planet, they'll tear us apart." "Then we don't get close," said. "Prepare quantum torpedoes, full spread." Quantum torpedoes were humanity's most powerful weapon, developed in secret over decades. They phased partially into quantum space, allowing them to pass through shields and armor before exploding inside their targets. Earth had never used them in combat before. They didn't know they existed. Firing announced. 100 torpedoes launched from the human fleet. The defensive platforms tried to shoot them down, but the weapons simply vanished, reappearing inside the platforms themselves. Massive explosions erupted across the orbital defense grid. In 30 seconds, half the planet's orbital defenses were gone. The defensive fleet charged forward in rage, abandoning defensive positions to attack the humans directly. It was exactly what wanted. Angry enemies made mistakes. All fighters engage, ordered. Show them what human pilots can do. Song, who had jumped here with a carrier group after finishing her part of the supply raids, led 2,000 fighters into battle. The space above Prime became a chaotic swirl of combat. Human fighters moved in coordinated pairs and trios, covering each other, adapting to threats instantly. Ships were powerful but predictable, following programmed attack patterns. These pilots said, watching the battle displays with amazement, "They're incredible." "They've trained their whole lives for this," replied. "Every simulation, every exercise, preparing for a war that might never come. Now it's here, and they're showing the galaxy what human determination looks like." The defensive fleet fought hard, but they were overwhelmed. Human ships used tactics the aliens had never seen. Some human destroyers deliberately rammed vessels, their crews escaping in pods at the last second while their ships turned into kinetic weapons. Other ships deployed minefields that didn't just explode but released nanomachines that ate through alien hull metal. "We're breaking through their lines," reported. "Path to the command citadel is clearing." "All dreadnoughts form up on the Eternal Defiance," commanded. "We're going down." 20 massive human dreadnoughts punched through what remained of the defenses. They entered the atmosphere of Prime, shields glowing as they pushed through the air. Below them, the command citadel rose from the planet's surface, a massive structure where the High Command directed their empire. "They're launching surface-to-orbit missiles," warned. "Point defense, maximum fire. Don't let anything through." The dreadnoughts descended through a storm of fire. Missiles exploded against their shields. Energy beams scorched their armor. But the ships kept coming, and human weapons began targeting the command citadel itself. Ensign was monitoring all communications across all 3 battles. Suddenly, she gasped. "Admiral, I'm picking up communications from the fleet at Earth. They just received a message from here. They know we're attacking there." "What are they doing?" asked. They're breaking off the attack. They're trying to quantum jump back here to defend their planet." At Earth, Admiral watched the fleet suddenly lose coordination. Ships that had been attacking in organized waves began pulling back in chaos. Some tried to jump away immediately. Others waited for orders that weren't coming. The human fleet pressed their advantage, destroying dozens of confused alien ships. Made a decision. "Open a channel to the command citadel. Let me speak to whoever's in charge down there." A holographic image appeared, showing an alien that looked ancient, with elaborate markings that indicated high rank. The commander stared at with what seemed like disbelief. "I am Rear Admiral of Earth," said clearly. "You sent a fleet to exterminate my species. You've exterminated 47 others. That ends today." "You cannot win," the commander said, but its voice lacked confidence. "We are the dominant power in this region of space." "You were," corrected. "Now you're the species that attacked the wrong planet. Look at your screens, look at what's happening. Your fleet at Earth is defeated. Your supply lines are destroyed. Yours under our weapons. You have one choice: surrender, or we reduce your command citadel to atoms." "You would not dare," the alien said, but fear showed in its eyes. "We are humans," said coldly. "We survived our own apocalypse. We built a fleet in secret for 200 years. We crossed the galaxy to strike at your heart while you attacked our home. Do you really think we wouldn't dare?" Doctor leaned forward. "Admiral, I'm detecting something. They are broadcasting a surrender code. It's going out on all their military frequencies." Across 3 battlefields, ships stopped fighting. At Earth, the invasion fleet lowered their shields and powered down weapons. At the supply lines, escorts retreated without firing another shot. And above Prime, the remaining defensive ships went silent. "It's over," whispered. "We won." Didn't celebrate yet. He kept his eyes on the commander. "You will broadcast the full truth of what you did, all 47 species you destroyed. You will answer for those crimes. You will dismantle your military to a purely defensive force, and you will never threaten another species again. If you do, we'll come back. And next time we won't stop at your command citadel." The alien commander bowed its head in submission, something no had ever done to another species. 3 days later, stood in the same briefing room where the War Council had met. But now, representatives from other alien species were present, brought here by humanity's invitation. The Galactic Council, which had ignored Earth for so long, had sent urgent messages requesting to meet with the new power. Fleet Admiral addressed them all. "For 200 years, we prepared for the possibility that we would find enemies among the stars. We hoped to find friends instead. We still hope that. But let this be known throughout the galaxy. Humanity will defend itself. We will defend others who cannot defend themselves. And we will never allow another species to face extinction without consequences." One of the alien representatives from a species that had barely survived an attack decades ago spoke up. You defeated them. You actually defeated them. How?" Answered, "We learned from our own history. We nearly destroyed ourselves once. We promised it would never happen again. When you've already survived your worst nightmare, everything else becomes survivable too." The meeting ended, and the various species left to report back to their governments. The galaxy would be different now. Earth wasn't just another planet. It was a power to be respected, a force that had changed the balance of everything. Walked to the observation deck, looking out at the fleet that remained in orbit around Earth. The ships were no longer hidden. The secret was out. The sleeping giant was awake and would stay awake. Joined him. "What happens now?" "Now," smiled. "Now we do what we originally wanted to do. We explore. We meet other species. We make friends if we can. But we do it from a position of strength, not weakness. No one will ever threaten to exterminate humanity again. And if they try, then they'll learn the same lesson that did. We're explorers first, warriors second, but we're really, really good at both." Somewhere in space, the horizon's edge, the little scout ship that had started everything, was being prepared for another journey. This time, it would travel with a full battle group as escort. Not because humanity was aggressive, but because humanity had learned. The universe held wonders, but it also held dangers. Earth's war fleet would explore the wonders, and if they found dangers, well, they were ready for that too. The age of human exploration had truly begun, and the galaxy would remember the species that turned from peaceful explorers to victorious warriors and back again, all in the span of 1 year. They would remember the day Earth's war fleet awakened, and everything changed.